All right, welcome to today's class on Dotloop 101. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and in today's class, I'll be taking you through the Dotloop basics. So the Dotloop 101 class is designed for agents who have never been in Dotloop, or maybe you've just started going into Dotloop and only gone in a couple times. Okay, this will be a slower paced class that will take you A to Z to the main basics that you'll need to know about utilizing Dotloop. We do have Dotloop 201 training class as well, which can be found on slmtraining.com, and that will be a little faster paced. That will take you through a little more of the advanced tips, tricks, and time savers. So if you would like to watch that class next, you can on slmtraining.com, and that is typically provided live on the second Thursday of every month. So you can watch the training class for Dotloop 201 live next Thursday as well. So first things first is let's work on getting into Dotloop. So to get into Dotloop, the best way to do that is actually by going to mykw.kw.com. And you can see that on the top of my screen here. That is mykw.kw.com. And that will take you to what you're looking at my screen here. You'll want to go ahead and put in your myKW username and password. Now your myKW username is typically something like your first initial, last name, and maybe a number if your last name is more common. Okay, and your password will be case sensitive when you're entering that in. All right, if you have no idea what your myKW username and password is, I feel you, there's so many passwords for everything. Feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com. We can help you figure out what your username and password is or help you reset that so you can follow along in class. All right, so we're putting in our username and password and clicking log in. And that will take you into your myKW account here. And to access Dotloop, you'll actually want to focus your attention on the top center of your screen. You'll notice this edge control panel box right here. And on the top right of that box, you'll see it says myTransactions. Okay, so you may hear and see Dotloop being referred to as both Dotloop and myTransactions. Okay, they are one and the same, not to confuse you further. All right, so myTransactions, that is Dotloop. And you can just click on where it says Start myTransactions, that blue link right under it, to access your Dotloop account right away. So again, we are clicking on Start myTransactions on that edge control panel. Now, when you log in this way, so when you click Start myTransactions, it should take you immediately into your Dotloop account without prompting you for further username and password. Okay, and in theory, that's what it should do. If it does prompt you for a Dotloop username and password, you can go ahead and enter that in. Okay, if it's prompting you to create a new account, just make sure you're clicking sign in, that you already have an account. Again, if you're unsure of what that is, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can help you go ahead and figure that out or help you reset it if need be. All right, but in theory, it should just take you right into your Dotloop account with this method. So one less password for you to remember. Okay, and the most important thing before we go further is making sure you are connected to your market center. So this may look a little different depending on the market center that you're with, but on the top left, you should see that it says Premium. That's what we really want to see, that says Premium. You may also see a Keller Williams logo, which is great. That indicates that you are connected to your market center. All right, if you are not connected to your market center and you do not see Premium on the top left, you just won't have access to all your market center forms and all the features that Dotloop provides to KW agents. That is the case. Again, go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. Let them know you're in the class and they can connect you right away to your market center. All right, so that is very, very important. I'll show you another section where you can check to make sure you're connected to the right market center in just a moment here. Now, while everyone's getting into Dotloop, I just want to answer one big question that you may have, and that is, what is Dotloop? Right? So Dotloop is going to be your online filing cabinet. So you're going to have a loop, okay, or when I say a loop, what I mean is an online file. So you're going to have a loop per property that you sell. So for example, if you are representing a client who is selling their home with you and then buying the next home, that's going to be two separate loops because it's two separate transactions. So this is where all of your forms will sit. This is where you will be able to pull in your forms, type in your forms, and send them to your clients to electronically sign. And I promise this will start to all make sense in just a little bit here as we go through all this. So the first thing I'd like to take you through is the navigation of your Dotloop home screen by focusing on the top right here, these icons going across your screen. So you will see about 5-6 icons on the top right here. I'm going to overview what each one of those do, and then I'll tell you which ones are ones to focus on. So first of all, we have the reporting icon on the top right there. Okay, and that is going to show you any of your Dotloop reports. So year-to-date sales or any of your other stats in your loops will be shown there. Okay, that gives you that bar graph indication as well, so you can click on that and view that. Your loops icon. Okay, that loops icon kind of looks like a smiley face with no eyes. That's what I always think of, at least. All right, and that is where you can go. If you click on that, it will always take you back to your Dotloop home screen, so that is an icon you'll be using quite a bit. So that is an important one. This loops icon will always take you back home. All right, tasks right here. So your tasks icon, you can create to-do lists for yourself in each system, or in each loop rather. And so to keep you on track of all the items that you need to do for that loop. All right, this task option on the very top here is an overview of all the to-do items that you need to do for all of your loops combined. So it's kind of like an overarching to-do list for you. We have your people section on the top right as well. Right, that will show you all it's kind of like your CRM for Dotloop. It'll show you all the people that are involved in each transaction that you've ever done in Dotloop. There is a way to connect your Dotloop contacts to your eEdge CRM. So if you would like that done, feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can definitely help you with that. Moving to the right, this is a big one that will be starting in today's class in just a moment here. That is your templates. This is how you will access, and you can also print any blank forms straight from this template section. We'll be doing that in just a moment here. But first of all, let's go ahead and click on your headshot or initial on the top right in a circle. Okay, you may see initials on the top right, or your headshot if you have that in, and go ahead and click on that. And you will see this information display. So a couple things to note here is your member ID. So if you were to call the Dotloop support number, and that is right here on this drop down as well, they have pretty extensive support hours, so you can give them a call. And if you put in this member ID when prompted, it will move you to the very front of the support line because you are a Dotloop premium member with KW. So you get faster support, which is awesome. You may also see a couple different profiles on this screen here. If you are an active agent in more than one market center, or if you're transferring from one market center to another, you can toggle back and forth between your Dotloop profiles from here. If you're only seeing one profile, that's actually a little more typical, so that's totally normal as well. All right, and we'll dive more into that in just a moment here, but for now, let's go ahead and click on My Account. Okay, so we're selecting that My Account option. So we clicked on My Account from that drop down. Should be right under your first and last name. And we need to start class with a little housekeeping. Okay, not the most exciting stuff here, but we need to make sure all of your contact information is entered in and correct so that it will autofill onto every single form that you bring into every loop that you create going forward. So this will save you a huge amount of time in the future, so just bear with me through all this tedious stuff here. But let's go down these columns here, make sure this is all correct, such as your first and last name. Obviously pretty important that that's correct there. So make sure we have that entered in here. Email address. So this is an important one. If you are taking notes in today's class, I would recommend writing down your Dotloop email address. So if you are having another agent share a form with you in Dotloop, they will need to share it to this email address specifically. We'll be talking a lot more about sharing forms in just a moment here, but it is important that you know which email address is connected to your Dotloop account, so you're giving that out to other agents so they can share forms to you right away. Let's go ahead and make sure we have our phone number and fax number entered in correctly here. Okay, so we'll want our business phone number that will autofill on any forms that require that. And your fax number, if your office has a fax number, you can add that in. Okay, if you're not sure of what that is right now, you can always come back here and enter that in anytime. All right, moving on down here, let's make sure that our e-sign name and e-sign initials are correct as well. So this may differ from your name, how you have it entered in here. So if you go by Bill, but your legal name is William, you may need to sign by William instead. Okay, feel free to check in with your broker on compliance with that. But this is how Dotloop will sign any forms with your name automatically. Okay, so you'll typically want to put in your legal name. You can also add in, if you sign with your middle initial, you can add that in here as well. It's just a default how it will sign for you. Moving on down here, we have the company name and job title. So company name, again, this information will autofill. So in the very least, you'll want to say Keller Williams Realty. Some areas will require your brokerage name to be entered in as well. So that's why I have Ballantyne area entered in. Again, check with your broker on that to see if that is mandatory for your area. I guess if in doubt, you can go ahead and add in your brokerage name. And we'll add it to places like the listing agreement for you and any other forms that require that. Job title, that will differ depending on where you are. So if you go by broker or realtor or possibly salesperson, again, that tends to vary by the state or region that you're practicing in. Just a heads up, if you are writing in the word realtor, that needs to be in all caps. Okay, anytime you type in the word realtor, that is in all caps because that is a trademarked word. And last but not least, we have the NERDS ID. So you guys have enough to remember as new agents. If you have your NERDS ID on hand, you can fill that in right here. And Dotloop will remember that, fill it into all forms so you don't have to constantly be writing that in. One last thing to remember. Now, if you are still working on that section, no rush, take your time. I just want to talk about this section for your headshot here. If you do not have your headshot currently entered in, I would highly suggest going ahead and adding in that headshot. Okay, if you click that red button there, which says something like upload photo, if you don't already have a photo, it will browse your computer so that you can add your headshot in right away. It's really important to have your headshot entered into your Dotloop account with all the spam and scammers, unfortunately, across the internet. It makes your clients feel a lot more comfortable signing legal documents if they see a familiar face in the Dotloop account. So it legitimizes what they're sending. If you do not currently have your headshot or just don't want to worry about it right now, feel free to email your headshot anytime to support@scottleroymarketing.com. There are about 6 different places that we can help you add your headshot in throughout your KW technology, including your Dotloop account. So we're more than happy to handle that for you. Okay, so again, feel free to email that over and we can do it for you. And let's scroll on down to the very bottom of your screen where you'll see your address. And we do need to put in our office address specifically here. All right, so country, make sure to fill that in here. Want our time zone to be correct and put in your office address. If you're not sure of what your office address is, feel free to Google it. Google tends to know all. All right, so you can grab it from Google right away. Excuse me, and then you can click save once you're done with that. Feel free, I know you're probably still working on that, but make sure to click save on the very bottom right once you're done with that. Anytime you click save in Dotloop, you will see this yellow bar appear, letting you know that the contact information updated successfully. Okay, whatever you're saving was successful. I know it's the worst when you do all this work and forget to save it. All right, so one more time, just don't forget to click save, that red button on the bottom right, to save the work that you just added in. Once you click save, you'll need to scroll back to the very top of your screen. And on the left-hand side, there's just a little more housekeeping we'll need to do. We'll need to go ahead and click on where it says Profiles on the left-hand side in red. So we're clicking on Profiles on the left-hand side in red. We just need to enter in a couple more bits of information, And then we'll dive into the quote-unquote fun stuff of Dotloop. So after we click on profiles on the left-hand side, make sure we have our phone number and fax number entered in here. I believe you may have to enter that in again. In this profile details section, the main section you'll need to fill in is the agent license number. Okay, again, that's typically a long string of numbers, and another thing you have to remember, if you enter this in right here, Dotloop will remember it for you and enter it onto every form that requires that piece of information. So again, one less thing you have to remember, and a big time saver. If you're not sure of what your license number is off the top of your head, just make a note on how we got here, and you can enter that in again. And just a reminder of how we got here. We hovered over your initials or headshot on the top right, my account from that drop down, and then we selected profiles on the left hand side. We'll take you back here so you can come back anytime. All right, company and associations, I did mention how important it is that you are connected to your market center here. So do just eye over this, make sure you are connected to the correct market center. This will allow you access to all your market center forms and make sure you have all the features of Dotloop Premium account. And company information. Okay, one more time here, we need to enter in our company name, which is Keller Williams Realty, and you may need to enter in your brokerage name there. And your office address. Just one more time. Okay, the good news is if you didn't know your office address before, well, you will now because you have to enter it in twice. So go ahead and enter in your office address specifically in this company information section. And again, Dotloop will put this onto every form that requires that. And as you're working on wrapping that up, don't feel rushed. I just wanted to explain what the very bottom section is, so you can just listen to me out of one ear here. So you will notice some notification settings on the very bottom of your screen. Okay, you'll notice a bunch of checkboxes here. All right, that will show you when you are being notified by Dotloop. So the top will be Dotloop notifications, and then you have email notifications as well. And these are important things such as when your document is shared, when your document is signed, when your signature is required, compliance information, and so forth. Okay. As a new agent, I would suggest leaving these all checked. If you find that you're getting inundated with Dotloop emails and you want that to stop, you can come in here and uncheck any of these options at any time and click Save on the bottom right to update your notification settings so you don't receive so many. But again, as a new agent, I would just recommend leaving them all checked. And let's go ahead on the very bottom right, let's click Save, that red button there, to make sure we save the work we just did. When you click Save, you should receive a yellow bar letting you know the save was successful. And you can scroll up to the top of your screen. But one more time, make sure you click Save on the bottom right to save those changes. Don't forget that. Now let's scroll to the very top where we can access our blank forms. So that's where we're going to next, is printing out blank documents. So if you could go ahead and click on the icon that looks like two sheets of paper on the very top right black toolbar here. So that's the templates icon, looks like two sheets of paper. So let's say that you're not a big fan of technology, or your clients don't trust electronic signatures, whatever the case may be. All you want to do is simply print out a blank document so you can bring it on your appointment and hand fill it in and have your client hand sign it next to you. Okay, that's the steps I'm going to show you next, is how to do just that, how to print out a blank document. Okay, now I do have, just before we go further, I do have Dotloop notes. So I have notes on today's class. Let me send that out here. What I'm about to go over with these printing out blank documents are not on the notes, so make sure to take notes on this separately if you would like to. But the notes I just sent you, it will outline what I'm going over in class and some of the Dotloop 201 class. If you're watching this class recorded, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, L-E-A-H, and I'd be happy to send you the notes directly. One more handy thing while we're sending things out is I did create a Dotloop overview, and that is a 20-minute how-to Dotloop overview on everything you need to know about starting a loop, sending it to your client to sign. All right, so let's say you're not ready to go, you don't have a client right now necessarily, but in the future you do, and you just need to be guided along with that. All right, that will be a 20-minute overview that will take you through step by step the basics of Dotloop. So just a heads up so you have that on file. All right, so now let's go back to printing out blank documents. So again, the first step was we clicked on this icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper on the top right. And once we do that, you'll see a bunch of red form folders on the left-hand side. Now your form folders will be different than mine. Your awesome office staff adds these in for you. So they add different form folders on the left-hand side, so that'll be different depending on your market center and your area. But on the left-hand side, you can go ahead and click on the form folder that you think would have the form you're looking for. So I'm going to be looking for a listing agreement in this example. So go ahead and select the red form folder on the left-hand side that has the document that you think it would be in. Once we select the form folder on the left-hand side in red, you'll see a bunch of forms display on the middle of your screen. And you can scroll up to see a red search bar near the top of your screen here. And you'll simply want to click on the word search. Okay, so simply click on the word search in that search bar. And you can start searching for whatever form that you're looking for. So if you're searching by the form number or the form name, you can search for that right away. If you're not sure of what forms you need, check in with your office staff. They may have checklists for you that let you know the names of all the forms that you need for each transaction for a sale or a listing, for example. So once I search for the form name that I'm looking for, you'll then see a bunch of forms pull up with that keyword in it. Okay. Just to make sure that you are getting the correct form, you can simply click on the form that you'd like to print. And that will open that up for you. So now that I know this is the correct form, I can come up to File and I can print that right away. Okay, so that's File on the top black toolbar and print it from there. All right, let me walk you through those steps one more time. I know that was quite a few steps, so I just want to make sure you guys got that so you can write that down. Sorry, I did that fast. To get back to all of your forms, you can click on the back arrow. It's kind of hard to see. It's red on the black toolbar to the left of the form name, and that will take you back to all of your forms. All right, so let me walk you through those main steps here. All right, so step 1, we clicked on the icon, the templates icon on the very top of your screen here, top right, looks like 2 sheets of paper. Step 2, I selected the form folder in red on the left-hand side that I believe would have the form I'm looking for. Step 3, search for the form that you're looking for on this top search bar. Step 4, select whichever form that you would like to print out. And step 5, we're coming up to File, and we are printing it from there. Alrighty. So that is how we will print out a blank form. So let's go ahead and click on the back arrow again if you clicked on a form to go back to all of our forms. So that's the red back arrow on the top black toolbar to the left of the form name. Alright, so that is how you will print out blank documents so you can simply bring it onto your appointment. Now the whole concept of Dotloop though is to be able to type in your forms so that you can send it to your client via email so they can electronically sign. So let's take a look at that method. I think you'll really like it. Alright, so on the top of your screen here, let's go ahead and click on the icon that looks like a smiley face with no eyes, right? That's the loops icon. That will always take you back home. So top right, black toolbar, we're clicking on the loops icon to get back home right away. And you may not see any loops. Okay, I've obviously worked with Dotloop for a little while. So I have my loops in here. If you do not see any loops, that's perfectly normal, especially as a new agent. But let's change that. Let's start a practice loop. All right, so let's go ahead and click Add Loop on the very top right, that blue button here, to start a new loop right away. All right, it's really great to have a practice loop in here so you can practice things in Dotloop before doing it in front of your clients so it looks like you know what you're doing. Always useful. All right, so let's go ahead and click that blue button on the top right that says Add Loop. And we'll take you to the steps to adding a loop. So you'll see the 4 steps on the top here. First things first, we need to name our loop. So you'll see you'll need to name it by the property address if at all possible. Okay, I definitely realize if you're representing the buyer, you won't know the property address right out the gate. No worries, you can see right here it says put in the client's name for now, and you can always change it later. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and put in, if you want to put in 123 Main Street, or your home address, 123 Practice Loop. Okay, whatever you would like the property to be named, the practice loop to be named. Alright, so you mainly need just the street address. It's the main thing you'll need, and then you can click Continue on the bottom right. And we'll take you to step 2, which is templates. So these are loop templates. So if I click on that, and you may or may not have these loop templates added in. Okay, this is added in by your office staff. So if you do not have a loop template, there's nothing wrong with your account. Okay, your office just doesn't utilize this. However, if you do have loop templates, these can be really useful. If you were to click on that and select that this is, let's say, a listing loop, okay, or a sales loop, what it would do is it would automatically pull in all the initial forms that you need to get going on that transaction so you don't have to go grab those. Okay, so it really just jump starts the process for you. All right, so you can select that one of those if you would like. I'm going to go ahead and leave that blank just so we're all on the same page, and click Continue on the bottom right, blue button there. All right, photo. You can really just watch on my screen for this part. So you can add in a photo of the property to your loop. And so Dotloop says if you take the time to add a photo of the property to the loop, that the client is 5 times more likely to use you again or refer you out, because it makes them feel like, wow, this agent created my own personalized website to sign my documents. Now, this might be a property that they're really excited about buying, for example. Okay, so it's really exciting to see that property on the very top of your screen, of their screen, rather. So in theory, the practice would be, if they're buying a home, go grab the picture off the MLS, let's say, so you can just go to the MLS and save it to your computer. So the photo would have to be saved to your computer first, okay, or if it's your listing, you would maybe have the listing photos on your computer. And you can click Upload a Photo. When I do that, it starts browsing my computer. So I can, scroll, navigate on over to where I have that photo saved, double click on it, and it will pull that photo in right away. Now, it's not very customizable. It is what it is. You just see like a sliver of the middle of the photo. There's no way to crop it from here or adjust what you're seeing. Okay, but it does just give them a preview right here. So it is a cool little tip you can do, and you can see it's really quick to add that in. And then I can click Done on the bottom right to complete that process and finish setting up my loop. Okay, but just heads up, adding the photo is not a necessary step, especially if you're in a hurry. And you can always go back in and add it at a later time as well. I'll show you that in just a moment here. All right, once I do that, I can see I've finished that, so I can click View Loop on the bottom right to open my loop right away. It will take you into your loop. Now there's 3 main sections of your loop as you open that up. And the first main section is the top document section. Okay, and that is where you'll be spending most of your time within your loop. It's where you'll be adding documents to your loop, preparing those forms, so typing in the forms, sending it to your clients to electronically sign, and so forth. So that is where most of your time will be spent, is this top document section. As we scroll on down, so scrolling down to the bottom, we see the people section. That will show you any people involved in this transaction. You will always see yourself and your admin in your Dotloop, in each loop that you create. Okay, your admin are in each loop so that they can do compliance review on your loop, make sure you have all the required forms, and in the end pay you. which is always a bonus. And you will always see yourself and your Dotloop email address in here. And again, make sure you jot down what your Dotloop email address is. And this is where you'll also see your clients added to the loop, any other people involved like the mortgage provider and so forth. We'll go more into that in just a moment here. And lastly, we have the task section on the very bottom. So if you're like me and you like to-do lists, okay, you can create to-do lists or task lists here for each and every one of your loops. You can also add a task list template. So let's say you can add a to-do list template that you create for every listing so that it has all the items that you need to do for that listing. So I know there are a million things you need to do to get a listing to go live, like put a lockbox out, put a sign in the yard, get it professionally measured, all right? Whatever your process is for getting a listing ready to go live, you can create a to-do list for that and have that tracked on the bottom here. So let's go ahead and scroll up to the very top of our screen, and a big question that we get is, great, I created a loop, now what do I do? Okay, and the first thing that you'll want to do when creating a loop is scrolling to the very top, and you'll see it says View Details in red right under the loop name, in this case the property address. And let's start there. So let's click on View Details at the top of your loop in red. Alright, and before we dive into all this, let's just scroll down so you can see what you're getting yourself into. So scroll on down to where you'll start to see a lot of fields it's prompting for. And what this does is any information that you fill into this section here will autofill onto every form that you bring into this loop specifically, so saving you a huge amount of time. I find this a really great learning tool as well. If you're a new agent and you're working with some of these forms that are 10 pages long, it's hard to know where each piece of information goes on the form initially. Well, if you go in and enter it here, Dotloop knows where on the form to put that information, so it can show you where to add that. And not to mention for experienced agents, it is just a great time saver. So let's scroll to the very top of our screen here. Okay, it will prompt you if you ever want to go back in and upload a photo later. It typically will say upload photo somewhere on the top here, so you can add a photo of the listing later, or the property later. Let's start with transaction type. So transaction type, let's go ahead and select which one that may be. So if you're working with a purchase, listing for sale, so forth. I'm going to select listing for sale for today's class. So we'll want to select transaction type first. Okay, you do have to select the transaction type first before you can select the loop status. So the loop status, once I click on that, is really important for a couple of different features in Dotloop, but also very much so for organizing your Dotloop home screen. Okay, and I go into detail on the Dotloop home screen in the Dotloop 201 class, so feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com. Just a quick note on that, there is no deleting any loops or forms for that matter in Dotloop. You can only archive those. Okay, so archiving those is essentially hiding those. So you can always archive that from here. But in this case, we'll want to go ahead and mark this as, let's say, an active listing, or whatever the case may be. And you can adjust the loop name right here. So if you only knew the buyer name at the beginning and you need to add in the property address, you can right from here. Or let's say I want to add in my client's name, which is Tony Stark for any Iron Man fans. Okay, you can add that in, and you can click Save on the top right, and you can see how quickly that adds that in for you. And again, we always see that yellow bar letting you know the save is successful. So let's come down to this people section here, where we can add in the people to our loop. So very important step, first step that you'll want to take so that our clients can electronically sign. As you might have guessed, we'll go ahead and click Add Person on the top right to add our client in right away. So we're clicking that red Add Person on the top right here. And there's three main things that you'll need to add in to add a person to your loop. That would be their full name, email address, and role. So if you want to go ahead and put in, let's say, your husband's name, your spouse's name, John Smith, if you're not feeling particularly creative, okay, or your favorite movie star, or whoever you would like your practice client to be. And then you can put in their email address. So in this practice loop, I would highly suggest putting in a personal email address that you have so you can see what it looks like when a client receives a form to sign. Okay, that would be a personal email address that is not connected to your Dotloop account. So we've taken a look a couple times now what your Dotloop email is. So if you have a different email address, you can put that in here for your practice client. And lastly, a role. Roles are super, super important for your clients to be able to electronically sign. If they do not have a role, they will not be able to electronically sign the form. So where it says role here, you can go ahead and click on where it says role in red. And you can select if this is a seller, buyer, so forth. There's a whole bunch of different roles you can see by scrolling down with that gray scroll bar. Feel free to check that out. But the main ones are typically at the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and select seller since I am working with a listing loop here. And it will then give you a bunch of more information that you can enter in about the client. And if you enter that in, it will fill it in on, let's say, the listing agreement and any other form that requires that info. But the rest of this info is not required, so you don't have to fill that in right now. One quick thing I want to talk about is this add to my team. This is a very important thing to know. If you are taking notes, please take a note to never, ever, ever click add to my team if you are adding a client to your loop. Okay, this cannot be undone. All right, so the general concept of Dotloop is everything is private until shared. Okay, and you only want your client to see what you choose to share with them from your loop. What this add to my team feature does, if I were to click that for this person, it would allow this person to see everything in my loop that I can see. You typically do not want that for your client. Again, you only want them to be able to see what you choose to share with them. All right, but this add to my team feature is really useful if you are, so a couple different scenarios. So this add to my team feature, let's say you are working with another agent in your office and you are co-listing a property. So emphasis on you guys are on the same side of a transaction, so you're working together. You can add that other agent to your loop and click add to my team, and it will add this loop to that agent's Dotloop account as well, so you can collaborate on the loop together, so you can work together. All right, so you would want to be on the same side of the transaction specifically. Or if you were a part of a real estate team and you have a team admin or a transaction coordinator, right, you can add that team admin to every loop. Click add to my team. It will put this loop in your team admin's Dotloop account as well, so they can help you out with it. So a couple different scenarios that this is really a great tool, but never click it for your client. Okay, that's the takeaway. So now that we have these three main pieces of information, let's go ahead and click on Add Person on the bottom right to add that person in right away. And then, of course, if this person had a spouse, you could click Add Person on the top right to repeat the process and add in the spouse. Now, under the People section where you see your name, of course, we see our Dotloop email and it says None under your Dotloop email. Let's go ahead and click on None and give yourself a role. Again, the role is very important for you to be able to electronically sign any forms that you need to. So it's really important to give yourself a role as well. So I'm going to change None to Listing Agent in this case, but of course you can change that as needed. So now we have the People section checked off. Okay, property address. Let's scroll on down slightly, and I did mention that any information filled in on this bottom part of the View Details section will autofill onto every form you bring into your loop. Huge time saver, huge learning tool, a lot of benefits. So just so you can see what it looks like when Dotloop autofills, let's go ahead and just fill in some basic property information. So just real quick here, go ahead and put in a street number, street name, whatever information you would like, just to see how that works, so you can get the hang of that. And as you're wrapping up that section, feel free to scroll down to see all the other information you can put in. This is not mandatory, so if it doesn't apply to the property, you can leave it blank. All right, but you can put in financial information, such as the purchase price, sales commission, so forth, any contract dates, offer dates, contract info, and so forth. Okay. The list really goes on and on. Again, this is not required to do, but it just will help you as it will autofill this information on all forms brought into this loop specifically. So now that we have some information filled in, let's scroll up to the very top of our screen and click Save on the top right red toolbar. All right, so I'm clicking Save on the top right. Please don't forget to do that. Save on the top right red toolbar. It will give you this nice reassuring yellow bar letting you know the save is successful. And you can click Back to Loop on the very top left in red. So clicking Back to Loop on the very top left, it'll be under the black bar at the top, to get back to your main loop. All right, so now let's practice adding forms to our loop. So scroll down slightly, you will see this Documents section at the top of your screen. And if you selected a loop template, you may see a bunch of form folders and different forms in your loop already. Okay, either way, let's make sure we see these 3 blue boxes under a folder to add a new form, and we do that by clicking on Add Document in red. To the far right of the document name, of the folder name here, we can click Add Document, and we'll make these 3 blue boxes display. Okay, in today's class, we're going to focus on that first blue box that says Templates. All right, so this is how you'll add an interactive form by selecting one from Templates. What it means by templates, it means it's an interactive form that you can just start typing in. So it's a Dotloop document. Just to draw this full circle for you, I do want you to note that this icon that looks like 2 sheets of paper is the same as the Dotloop icon, the templates icon, the very top right black toolbar where we started class. So these are all your blank documents. So go ahead and click on that first blue box. This should look pretty familiar to you because we started class here. On the left-hand side, let's go ahead and select the form folder that we think would have the document that we need to pull in. So we are selecting that form folder on the left-hand side in red. Once we do that, the forms will all pop up on the right-hand side column. We can use the search bar at the top to search for the form we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to pull in a listing agreement. You can pull in whatever form you would like. It should all apply the same. So I'm typing in the word listing. All right, and I can click the checkbox to the left of whichever form that I need to pull in. Now you will notice some of the form names run off the page if you're unsure if that's the correct form. If I just hover my mouse over the form name, it will give me a little speech bubble letting me know what the full form name is. Just a quick tip there. But you can check the checkbox to the left of whichever forms you want to pull into your loop and click on Copy on the bottom right here. Once I do that, it will give me a green check mark letting me know that one of them was imported, and I can click OK on the bottom right as well. And voila, we have the form in our loop now. Okay. So to start editing that form, it's as simple as clicking on the form name to open that right away. So you'll literally do just that. Go ahead and click on the form name to pull that open. And when we do that, you should see an autofill box display immediately. Now this autofill box is really important. Please make sure to never X out of this. This is our best friend. Okay, make sure the form is set up properly so that your clients can electronically sign, and it also autofills, saving you time. So first of all, really important that we see our roles on the very top. It's very important that you see your client's name next to seller 2 and seller 1 and seller 2 if there is a spouse in the transaction. Alright, so I already see my client's name in line with seller 1 here because I told Dotloop that my client is a seller. Alright, they will not be able to electronically sign if you do not see their name there. Can't stress that enough. If it does just say select person, you can just do that. Click on where it says select person and select that client's name from the list. Or you can go ahead and add them straight from here as well. Okay, so that makes it pretty easy for you. So you can add in a spouse if you didn't know that Tony Stark had a wife, for example. You can add them in straight from here. Also, make sure you see your name in line with the listing agent or buying agent, whatever applies to the form, so that you can electronically sign. As I scroll down here, I will see autofill the property address information because I already added that in the view details section. Okay, you can add in any further information if you need to. I also see my information entered in the listing agent because we did that in the My Account section at the beginning of class, so it's already saving us time, which is great. You can scroll on down, enter any other information as needed, and click autofill on the very bottom right in red. All right, so make sure we do this step. Very important that we click autofill on the very bottom right in red. All right, when I do that, it will take me to my form. And I can see on the right side here that 2 roles have been assigned and 13 fields have been autofilled. Right, any yellow fields that you see on the form indicate to you that that has been autofilled, saving you time. Now, if you need to type in any fields, so any text fields, is as simple as clicking on the field to start typing. Okay, so you can do that for any text fields. Just click to start typing. So very easy to fill out the form. Okay, any check boxes that you see will be as easy as clicking to check that box. Date fields, all right, I know it's a date field because it has a little calendar icon here, so I can click on that date field. Let's say for an expiration date in this case. You'll see a calendar display where I can click the arrows on the top to scroll to the date and click the date to enter that in. All right, so filling out the form is very user-friendly. I think you'll really like it. Again, you can just click to start typing anywhere. But let's scroll on down to an initial field or signature field. That's not as straightforward, so I can explain that to you. So depending on your form, okay, I know that looks different depending on your state. All right, you may see initial fields on the bottom of each page. If so, you can go ahead and scroll to that, where I can see my seller initials in print in my initial field. Now, if I were to print this form, it would be blank, these initial fields, okay? So when it's actually signed, it looks very different. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment here. All right, but it is super, super important that you see your client's initials in print. That indicates to you that you set it up correctly and your client will be able to electronically sign. If it just says seller in both these fields, they will not be able to electronically sign because Dotloop doesn't know who's supposed to sign that field. Right? And sometimes your client doesn't necessarily know where they need to sign. So this is you and Dotloop designating to your client where they need to sign on the field. So very important that you see your client's initials and not just the word seller. If it does just say the word seller here, you will want to pull up the autofill box. Okay, and you can do that by clicking on the autofill option on the top black toolbar. Right, and it will pull up, you will just want to make sure you see your client's name in line with seller 1 and or seller 2, right, so they can electronically sign. Now, let's take a look at the difference that it looks like when it's actually signed. So you'll see if you're on, let's say, a listing agreement, you may see a place for you to sign, like I have here, for the agent to sign. So I'm going to go ahead and hover my mouse over listing agent and click sign now. All right, and this is very similar to what it looks like when your clients go to electronically sign as well. The first time and the first time only that you or your client goes to electronically sign a form, it will prompt them to confirm their signature. So it's confirming that you spelled their name correctly, or let's say you put their name in as Bill and they sign with William or want to sign with their middle initial. They can update their name right on the top here and their initials. Okay, they only have the option to do this the first time that they go to sign something. So you can update your signature up here and initials and click adopt and sign on the bottom right. Once I do that, I do see my initials display with a time and date stamp. Okay, so you can see how different it looks when the field is actually signed versus when it's just indicating to you that it's set up correctly for your client to be able to electronically sign it. So now scrolling down from there, you can see you can go to the next field that you're supposed to sign. You can see how easy it is to sign that. It just pops that in, okay, without further verification that that's correct. You can go down the entire form doing just that. Now, the signature field is the exact same. I just want to show you it so you feel comfortable with it. But if you'd like to scroll on down to a place where you would have a full signature, so you can take a look at that, or of course you can watch on my screen. So it's very important that I verify that it says Tony, sign here, so my client's name, sign here, as opposed to just seller, sign here. So I know he can sign that field, so I feel good about that. Okay, all of my listing agent information is auto-filled because that's pulling from the My Account section, which we started in class. And I can see where it says listing agent sign here. I'll click sign now, and boom, it adds that in with a time and date stamp. Okay, so from here, you have a couple different scenarios. So first of all, you will want to make sure that you type up the entire form first before sharing that to your clients to electronically sign it. All right, if you send it to your clients to electronically sign the form and then go back and try and change something on the form, it will erase all their signatures because it thinks that, well, they didn't sign for that change. It makes complete sense, but it's just a total pain. All right, so again, in theory, fast forward, make sure you fill out the entire form first before sending it for signatures. So we have a couple different options here. So first of all, let's say again your client is not a fan of electronic signatures, they don't trust it. Or let's say you're going on a listing agreement or listing appointment and you just want to type up the entire listing agreement first, print it out, and then bring it on your appointment because it looks more professional when it's typed up. You can totally do that. Okay, you can use Dotloop to a couple different capacities here. So we're imagining that I already filled out the entire form. And then I can simply go to File on the top black toolbar, and I can print that to bring it on my appointment. So again, I can explain it to my client and they can hand sign it right next to me. Okay, so you do have the option to print it right from there. Just a heads up in case you're wondering the difference between print and download. Download would just be to download this document to your computer so you can save a copy to your computer. That certainly is a great idea to save, especially signed documents, to your computer. All right, but the main point of Dotloop that makes your life very convenient is you can share it via email so your clients can electronically sign. So let's take a look at that. So we have a save and share option on the very top right here. Okay, if you already saved it, it would just say share. So it's that big red button on the top right here. And then we'll pull up a share screen for you. And it will show you which document you're sharing. So you can see, make sure you're sharing the correct form. Or if you're sharing multiple, it would show more than one form there. Who has access to the form currently? So if you can't remember if you already shared it to your client, they would be on this list if so. You will always see yourself and your admin on this list who currently has access. And adding people. So we will see our clients' names down here under Add People. I can see a check mark next to my client's name. I can see that my client has 11 fields assigned to them, so they can sign 11 fields. On the far right here, I have the Share option. So let's take a look at those. So if you click on where it says Can Sign, it will give you a couple share options, and these are outlined in the notes that I sent you. That you can click on so you don't have to remember everything I'm saying. It also gives you, if you hover your mouse over each one of these options, it will also tell you basically what I'm about to say if you ever forget. The Can Sign option. So this Can Sign option is how you'll be sharing the form 8-9 times out of 10. Okay, that is definitely the most used one. The Can Sign option will allow your client to do only that, sign the form, right? You're the real estate professional, you know what needs to be filled in the form, so you fill out the form and you only give them the ability to sign the form, right? You don't want them to necessarily be able to change fields such as, oh, I don't know, your commission rate, for example, okay? So again, that just gives them the ability to sign the form for what you filled in. Let's talk about the other options and when to use those. So view only, this view only option. So let's say you are sharing a fully signed contract to your mortgage provider, right? You could add in the mortgage provider's information here and share it as view only. Or if you're representing a younger couple and they want their parent to look over the form before signing it, same concept, put in their information and share as view only. Can fill and sign. All right, let's talk about that option. So that is typically used if you are sharing things like a property disclosure. So if your client needs to fill out the form so they know the information about the property, like the age of the HVAC or the age of the roof and HOA information. You can share it as can fill and sign, so they're able to fill out the form with that information and then sign what they filled in. So again, that's mainly used for things like property disclosures. And lastly, we have can edit in private. So the can edit in private is typically used if you are sharing the form to the broker on the other side. So let's say in this scenario, we created an offer to purchase and you had your client sign it. You then share it over to the agent on the other side of the transaction and you can share it as can edit in private. All right. When that happens, the agent will have all the same ability that you have. So they'll be able to make changes to the contract to counter offer. Okay, and just of course, whenever they make changes to the offer, it will erase your client's signatures, right? Because they didn't sign for that. But it will then allow the agent to counter offer and have his or her client sign the form, and then he or she can share the form back to you so that your clients can sign the counter offer. Okay. So again, can edit in private is typically used for the agent on the other side. Okay, and just a quick note, you can also click the checkbox on the bottom here to attach the PDF to an email, especially if you're sharing it to an agent who maybe doesn't utilize Dotloop. That gives them the option to use Dotloop or also have the form and an attachment PDF on the email. All right, but again, 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, you'll share as can sign. And then you'll click share on the bottom right here. And that will let you know this document has been shared and it's now waiting on others. So now, if you would like, I'm going to show you what it looks like from your client's view. Okay, so you can get an idea of what it looks like when your client receives the form, so you can help guide them if they have any questions on what to do. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you that real quick, and then the last thing I'm going to show you in class is how to submit for review and access your green sheets. So hang tight if you'd like to see those 2 items here. So just watch on my screen here, so I'm going to click done, and then I have my client's email account pulled up. Okay, so this is my client's email account that I just shared it to. So just watch on my screen here. So it's letting me know, so from a client's view, I have this new email here. It says, please review the form right here. I can click on that to open up the email. And again, this is what your client is seeing. So it says, your name as the agent has shared a document with you for the loop, and then the loop name. I can then click view document as the client to start signing this. I just want you to take a look at how easy Dotloop makes it for your clients to electronically sign. Up top, we have click Start Signing to begin with a nice flashing button here. So I'll go ahead and click that. It takes me right on down to the first box I need to sign as the client. I'll click here. Again, the first time and the first time only that I go to sign the form as the client, it will prompt me to confirm my name and initials. If all looks good, I can click Adopt and Sign. It will take me right on down to the next field where I can click here to sign, and it just pops it in. Okay, and it goes on down from here like that. Now, of course, they can scroll up to actually read what they're signing, okay, or they can just keep going down to sign the form on each page. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and sign all these so you can see what it looks like at the end as well. Alright, so last field there I signed as the client. It tells me you're almost done. Click Finish to send the completed document back to the sender. So finish signing here. Alright. Now as the client, it prompts me to go ahead and either create a free Dotloop account or I can sign in if I already have one. Right, this is great for your client. They do not have to do this. If they do not create a free Dotloop account, it doesn't matter. You still receive the signed document back as the agent. However, if they do create a free Dotloop account here, they will be able to go into their Dotloop account and view the forms that they signed at any time. Alright, so they can go ahead and do that and click sign up. Alright, they also have the option to print the document or download it to their computer if they would like to from here as well. Alright, so your client has that ability to do that from their account. Alright, so that is what it looks like from your client's point of view. So you can see how easy it is for your client to be able to electronically sign. I just need to log back into my Dotloop account real quick here so I can finish showing you compliance review. Alright, so I'll catch back up to where you are if you are still on the same screen. So this is where I left you before going off and showing you the client's view. So last thing I want to show you in class is how to submit your loop for review and where to access your green sheet. I'll explain that in just a moment here. So you should be still on the screen here. Alright, well, let's go ahead and click on the back arrow on the very top left. Alright, that back arrow is red on the black toolbar to the left of the form name. It will take you back to your loop. And let's take a look at where it says Submit for Review on the very top right. So where it says Submit for Review on the top right, this is how you will submit your loop for review to your admin, okay, to your office staff. So again, your office staff needs to look over your loop to make sure you have all forms you need to be in compliance and also to pay you, which is why I think we do this whole real estate thing. Okay, so where you see it says Submit for Review, you can go ahead and click on that. And don't do this right now. Your office staff won't thank me if they get a bunch of random blank loops. All right, but this is how you'll go ahead and do that. You can check which folder you're submitting for review. Select the type. So let's say this is a listing folder. You can include why you're submitting this for review. Okay, so if you're submitting a missing document, you can add that in and click submit. And again, don't do that right now. All right, so that's how you submit for review. Let me tell you about when you'll want to submit for review. And each office typically has their own policy and procedure on when they want you to be submitting for review. So please make sure to check in with your office staff or your broker on the final word on when they want you to be submitting for review and so forth. I'm just going to give you a general overview of what a lot of offices do, so you have at least a general concept of when to submit for review. A lot of times you'll want to submit for review 3 times if it is your listing. So once when the listing goes live, okay, you'll want to go ahead and submit that with all of your listing paperwork. So that's things like the listing agreement, maybe the working with real estate agents, okay, all the items that you'll have in your listing packet. And your office may also have checklists for all the forms that are required to be in compliance for your listing folder. Check in with them on that as well. You'll want to submit for review a second time when the listing goes under contract with all your contract documents. Okay, and typically a green sheet, and I'll show you how to access the green sheet in just a moment here. And a third time when the property closes. Yay, our favorite. Okay, with all the closing documents. All right, so again, that's 3 times when it is your listing. If you're representing the buyer, you'll want to submit for review twice. Typically once when the property goes under contract with all the contract documents, and a second time when the property closes with all the closing documents. Again, check in with your office staff for a final word on their policies and procedures, but just to give you a generalized idea on when to submit for review, that is when you would do so, and we did that by clicking Submit for Review on the top right. So last thing we'll cover in class is where to access your green sheet. All right, and where we do that is actually in this View Details section. All right, that's where we started the loop. So right under the property address where we see View Details, go ahead and click on that. So I clicked on View Details in red right under the loop name. And then you'll see it has the option to submit to green sheet from here. Okay, so what a green sheet is telling your office how you're getting paid. So if you are splitting the transaction with another agent in your office, or if you have an outside referral, okay, this is typically required to get paid in your office. Alright, so if you click Submit to Green Sheet and nothing happens, just make sure you have a pop-up blocker off. You may see a pop-up blocker display on the top right. you'll need to click on that and click Always Allow from Dotloop. Okay, that's typically the most common reason it won't display. All right, but that is how you'll get to your green sheet. All right, guys, if you have any questions at all on your Dotloop account, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Feel free to put attention to my name, which again is Leah, Leah. I'd be happy to help you out with anything you have questions on. All right, I hope this was helpful and at least gave you a good head start on learning Dotloop. Best thing you can do is practice with it. Click around. You can't break anything, okay? So play with it and you will start to learn it piece by piece. All right, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a happy Friday Eve. Take care, guys.